Well, good morning, my friends. I am glad you're back with me for the morning mindset edition of the Live, Build, Change podcast. These morning mindsets are aimed at helping you and I get our mind right for the day, to get ourselves on track, thinking rightly about God, about ourselves, and about our lives, really, and what's going on in our lives. And we've been looking at the life of another person to help us do that, and that's the person of Moses. And we're still very much in the beginning stages of Moses' story, where he's been raised in Pharaoh's household, but due to his own action of killing an Egyptian in defense of one of his fellow Hebrews, he's on the run, and he runs from Pharaoh because his life is in danger. And he goes to this land called Midian. He meets a man and his daughters. And Moses, during that desert time of his life, finds God's blessing. He finds God at work, even in spite of his own mistakes, his own missteps and misjudgments, perhaps, and his own zeal gone wrong. I mean, Moses had taken things into his own hands. And whether or not it was right for him to kill the Egyptian in defense of the Jewish man that he saw being mistreated. And I'm open to that possibility that it was a right thing to do, to stand up for someone who is defenseless. Moses obviously had a zeal to do something. And it seems like, because of the way the circumstance panned out, that his zeal was a little bit misplaced. Some have even said he had this desire to liberate his people, but he didn't really know how to go about doing it. And so in all of this, God moves him out into the wilderness, to this place of Midian. And God blesses him while he's there. He finds a family, a wife, children, and his life really becomes one of blessing, being out there as a part of this community. But behind the scenes, during that whole season, God himself was at work. He was at work not just for Moses' sake, but for a bigger cause. And we find this outlined for us in the book of Exodus chapter 2, beginning in verse 23. It says, during those many days, so the many days that Moses was out there in Midian, the king of Egypt died. So that's the king who was after Moses to take his life for killing the Egyptian. It says, and the people of Israel groaned because of their slavery and cried out for help. I think we've all been there. We've been in a situation that was so bad, so hard to endure, that we groan and we cry out for help. That's where the people of Israel were as slaves in the land of Egypt. And it says their cry for rescue from slavery came up to God. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. God saw the people of Israel, and God knew. So while Moses is out there in the land of Midian, supposedly starting his life over in a context and a scenario, a setting he didn't even imagine would ever be the case, God is at work behind the scene. God is preparing his people and his servant Moses for something much bigger. And I've found in my life that those desert times, those times that are so hard, are exactly that. They are God's time of preparing me for something bigger, something more important, something broader than what I ever imagined. You don't hear anyone saying they learned the most important lessons of life during the easy times. They always say it about the hard times. So if you're in a hard time right now, or you see a hard time on the horizon, I want to encourage you, God is at work behind the scenes, and you need to tell yourself that actively, consistently, in the midst of that time, so that you can be encouraged and you can be a person full of faith in your God who is active on your behalf and for bigger purposes than you can even imagine. We'll talk more about this tomorrow.